What are your top 10 best quotes? I got a YouTube comment on one of my videos a couple of days ago by a fellow named Martin. He asked me, Andrew, what are your 10 best quotes? And I gave it some thought. That's why I made the video a couple of days later. And I'm not sure, quite sure I had 10 best quotes on the top of my head, but I do have about a good three or four that I try to live by every day, and that's something that you should have more quotes uh, locked and ready to go um, on an everyday basis. For people to find you interesting, you have to be able to say these quotes, right? When somebody's going through a situation, whether it be your family or your best friend, you should be able to give them these quotes, these frameworks to help them through a situation. So I think for 2016, that's something I'm going to work on is memorizing more quotes, not only to help me through personal things, but to help other people as well. And one of the quotes that I live by on a daily basis, whether it's my friends or a girlfriend or a manager or whatever, is one thing I could take away from my mother. Uh, Living with her for 21 years is she always told me that ignorant people don't ask questions. That is my by far my favorite quote in the whole world. I'm talking about. You put that against Freud or Sam Walton. That is the one quote that I live by on a daily basis. Ignorant people don't ask questions, and it's funny because I remember going on dates with an ex of mine, or and whether it was okay on a menu, and I know she used to get very upset. I used to ask the waitress or waiter, like, what's this, or what's the difference between this or that, or I know just the other day I was getting some vitamins and some supplements for. I'm back in the gym 4 days a week. I was getting some supplements, and I was asking the guy, the salesman, I was like, "Yo, what's the difference between this and that? This says this on the nutrition label. What's the difference?" And curiosity. Uh, you know, every successful person was curious about the thing that they're doing, and more than just trying to figure out what's best for you. It's I think the deeper meaning of this quote is if you're not curious about what you're doing, if you're not curious in life, you're not gonna go very far. If you're just a cog in a machine, right? If you whether you're going to work or you're in school, if someone tells you what to do and you don't know what's going on and you just do it, that's fine. If that's who you want to be, that's cool. But the most successful person, whether it's a Bill Gates or a Warren Buffett or Elon Musk or Sam Walton, these guys are curious, right? You're not gonna really stump them on any single subject, right? I bet you $1 million Warren Buffett come through that door. I can ask him any financial question and he'll know the answer. Now you might be asking, okay, Warren Buffett, you might be saying Warren Buffett's like 90 years old, of course, but you got to be curious. And the only way to be curious and the only way to get answers and be a expert in your field is you have to ask a lot of questions. You have to read a lot of books. You have to be hungry for that knowledge. You have to ask a lot of questions in life. You're not going to go very far. If you think somebody's just going to sit there and tell you what you should know, people don't care about you. You know, people really, really, majority you'll find is people care about themselves. So you have to take responsibility and you have to ask these questions. Another quote I wrote down here is a quote I heard from Ty Lopez, a guy I work for. And one of my favorite quotes from him is he says, "The only failure in life is an experiment run too long." This was, this is another profound quote to me because a lot of people are scared. A lot of people are bored. A lot of people just try to be status quo. Um, they're scared of failure. They're not sure if things are gonna work out. Now, let me tell you a story. Um, Now, I right when I went to Oregon and I played football, and when things didn't go right, for whatever I left, and I went to a small school in Delaware, right? A lot of people said, you know, go the JUCO route or transfer to a D2 school, do the normal spiel on things. But I went to a small like prep program in Delaware, and on paper it's like, why the hell are you doing this? Um, but it was an experiment, and you know, I took a risk, and you'll realize that it's usually the people who take the most risks that win. I was listening to an interview with Mark Cuban and Todd Lopez the other day, and he said, you know, you only have to be right once. You have to be right one time, and everything else will be forgotten. And I think a lot of people are too caught up in the embarrassment of, okay, you know, their parents and society telling them, what the hell are you doing? Um, but you have to get past that. You know, you might have to take two, three, four, five failures. You might have to live a couple years um, kind of embarrassed of things that you're doing or paths that you chose. But at the end of the day, you have to be right one time, and all those naysayers and all those people that are making fun of you or downing you, it all go away. So, um, uh, uh, the only fair in life is an experiment run too long. So, don't be scared of taking risks. Um, you have to do that in order to be successful. But when the shit is not working, you gotta stop, right? Because he said a failure is an experiment run too long. So there's no problem with you trying different things or you know testing different things out. Whether you hit a plateau in the weight room, right? A lot of people like to say, you know, I'm a CrossFit person or I'm a bodybuilder or I only do compound movements. But let's say you whatever you're in the gym, you only like to do compound movements, right? But you hit a plateau. Try CrossFit. Why not? You know, why not try shaking things up, right? If you've been in the gym, you've been doing the same routine for 6 months, it hasn't gotten you any improvements where you want. Why not try it? But the thing is, when you do try the CrossFit, now if you go from plateau to worse, not right away, but if you go from plateau to worse and you're consistently getting worse, month, 2 months in, 3 months, okay, enough's enough, right? You shouldn't have to wait 2, 3 years for things to be terrible for you to be like, okay, this is an experiment run too long. So don't be scared of trying new things, but when the new things aren't working, you have to know when to cut them off. And that's one of those things where it's not black and white when or when not to, but you have to be aware enough to, okay, this is not working. Um, Let me stop now. But a lot of people stop before they even try something for whatever reason, and don't let that be you. Another quote that I heard from my best friend. I don't know if he's the creator of it, but my best friend Akil, he always said prevention is better than cure. He told this, we were probably like 15, 14. And every day he used to just say, you know, prevention is better than cure. Prevention is better than cure. And I think this is a pretty obvious quote. You know, if whenever you prepare, prepare for life, right? Whether it's open up a savings account and saving for a rainy day before you need it, or preparing for a meeting, or just preparing for life, reading books every day. Therefore, when the situation happens, you already know how to handle it. Um, Whether it's you know you have a girlfriend, whether it's telling her that you love her every day and treating her right, so when you guys do go through a rough patch, you know you have a solid foundation. Prepare. You know you never know how tomorrow is going to be. You never know. Um, we live in Florida, right? Hurricane season. Why not prepare and have wood in your base? Prepare. I think the average savings rate in America is like -2% or something. People are spending more than they have, or what have you. But you have to prepare for life. Um, you know, I live in New York, right? New York, I mean, I'm pretty sure the news is negative everywhere, whether it's CNN, MSNBC, whatever. But I live in New York, and it seems like every day somebody's getting jacked or robbed. Whether it's an alley, broad daylight, nighttime, what have you. How many of these people? And again, let me preface my comments by saying nobody ever deserves to get robbed or mugged or beat up or whatever. But if someone approaches you whether it be nighttime or alone, I bet you wish you spent some more time in the gym, right? Again, a person has a gun. Again, there's a lot of holes in the scenario here, but if someone approaches you, tries to mug you, I'm pretty sure you wish you spent some more time in the gym, or you wish you took some self defense classes. You wish you knew how to disarm somebody when they have a gun on you, and that's all comes from prevention. Prepare for what's prepare for what's hard when it's easy, right? It's hard to go up I get up at 4:30 every morning. I go to the gym first thing I do because it's easy for me to kind of get up, go to the gym without thinking. Um, but for a lot of people, it's hard because they don't see the end goal, right? I mean, yeah, a lot of people like to have good bodies, but it's like, is it worth getting up at 4:30? Or a lot of people know that they should be fit to defend themselves, but if you haven't got mugged for 22 years out of your life, you're probably not gonna get mugged for tomorrow. So it's kind of hard for people to prepare like they know that they should, but it's kind of hard to do it on an everyday basis because you're like, okay, do I really need to? But when that rainy day comes, and trust me, it's coming, uh, you'll wish that you prepared, and that goes from whether it's money, health, love, prepare. And the last one that I kind of quickly thought of, it's not necessarily a quote per se, but it's something that my best friends and we all try to live by on a daily basis, right? It's not necessarily a quote, but it's just a way of being, and that's be mentally tough. That's something that um, we all tell each other whenever we're down and out. Um, whether it's bad test scores, bad GPA, breakup, or things are just not going the way you want, mom's bugging you out. It's be mentally tough. Life is gonna throw some curveballs at you, man. But I think one of the most resourceful, um, I think one of the most resourceful mind and one of the most resourceful ways of thinking is you just gotta fucking man up. And again, sometimes difference. Again, nothing is cut and dry in this world. Certain scenarios call for certain ways of dealing with it, but for the most part, you gotta be mentally tough. You gotta be able to take life's blows at you and move on. You have to be able to handle them. You can't sit there and feel sorry for yourself. And I played football in high school, college, and that's all the coaches used to say, right? Whenever we're running sprints or we're doing early morning workouts or we're lifting in the weight room, don't feel sorry for yourself. Um, you know, eighth sprint in a row, you're tired, you feel like you're gonna throw up. Are you gonna stand there bending over? Um, you know, are you gonna go half-ass on your next sprint? Are you gonna feel sorry for yourself, or are you gonna man up and are you gonna get it done? And I think once we realize that life is not easy, and once we realize that shit is gonna happen, whether it's you're gonna go drive down the street and your tire, you're gonna pop the fuck off, and you have to spend $600 on a new tire, money that you don't have, or whether it's somebody you've been with for a couple years is gonna move on from you, or whether it's a family member dies, or you need some money to pay the rent. I think that once you embrace that this is going to happen, or once you start embracing that these blows are going to happen in life, it kind of makes it easier to accept when it does happen. And once you also view that everything is your fault and you take responsibility for everything that happened, whether, it might not even be your fucking fault, right? A water main break, or, I mean, let's say you're the best person in the world, or, and then, or I can't even think. If you just, every situation that happens to you, if you say, okay, what could I have done better to make a different outcome, or how can I, what can I do from this point going forward to make this easier to cope with, or if you take responsibility for every action or everything that happens in your life, or everything that's going wrong, if you put that on your shoulders, people be like, oh, I was talking to one of my friends about a situation, and it's like, you can't be so hard on yourself. It's not always your fault. But my thing is, it's once you start putting blame on other people, it's kind of a cop out, right? Because it's like, okay, well, it's that person's fault for the way I'm feeling, right? So you're never gonna feel better. You're never gonna feel better once you say, okay, I feel like shit. It's because what that person did to me, it wasn't fair. Well, that means that the solution is always going to be in that person's hands, right? If that's the person and they're the reason why you feel bad, then the solution is always going to be in that person's hands. And what did I say earlier in the video? People don't give a fuck about you. So that person is probably never ever going to solve that problem. So the only way the problem is going to be solved is if you deal with it. So if you feel like everything is your fault, if you feel like everything is in your hands, then you'll be able to deal with it and you'll be able to make yourself feel better. So with that being said, be mentally tough. And those are kind of the 4 or 5 things that I kind of live by on a daily basis. It's kind of easy for me to think those things up. Now I read a lot of books. There's a library right here, and I come across quotes every day. So I'm going to try to remember some more. Whether it's writing them on index cards and studying them, that's a good way. But make sure you have some quotes locked and loaded, ready to go. Your friends would thank you for it. You'll thank yourself for it. Because one of the easiest things in life is when you're going through something and you have a quote that really resonates with you. If you know somebody's been through it before, or somebody's going through it, if you know those quotes from other people who's gone through it before will help you go through it yourself. Um, I know Will Smith. He said that you should be reading every day because there's a lot of smart people who've come before you. But not only that, this is everybody 99.9% of the problems you're gonna have somebody's been through it before. So if you read a story about them and how they gotten through it, if you take quotes from them and you remember them, that's gonna help you go through those situations yourself. So with that being said, those are my 4 quotes. Leave a comment down below. Let me, give me some more ammo. Let me know what your favorite quotes are. And let me know a situation that's gone on in your life and what kind of advice did you get, or what quote or what book did you read that helped you go through this situation? I'd love to hear some of these quotes. So, Andrew Kopp, I'll talk to you next time. Subscribe too.